8 English idiom responses to thank you by IdiomsOnline. In English, there are many idiomatic responses to thank you. The standard response to thank you in America is "You're welcome." "You're welcome" and all other thank you responses are actually idioms. Here are 8 of the most common alternatives. Although each of these idioms can have its own subtle shade of meaning and their own specific allusions, they are used routinely and offhand as standard substitutes for "you're welcome." Don't mention it. When someone thanks you for something and you say, "Don't mention it," you are saying that there is no need to thank you, and in fact, there is no need to even mention it. This is a warm response to gratitude, and you are telling someone that your help is to be expected and no expression of gratitude is needed. Examples of use. "Thanks for picking me up for work. I don't know what I would have done without you," said Maurice. "Don't mention it," replied Richard. "Thanks for helping me move out of my apartment." "I owe you a 6-pack of beer," said Ben. "Don't even mention it," said Travis, "but I could use a beer." "Don't mention it" has been used as an idiom since the early 1900s. Not at all. Not at all is similar to "don't mention it." Translated as "your thanks are not needed at all." "I was glad to do it." Examples of use. "I appreciate your help in this matter," said Janice. "Not at all," said Scott. "My pleasure." And also the more formal version, "the pleasure was all mine." When you use this response, you are telling the person who thanked you that it was your pleasure to help them. They do not need to thank you because you actually enjoyed helping. Examples of use. "Thanks for writing that letter of recommendation, Mr. Foster." "My pleasure," replied Mr. Foster. "If you hadn't helped me with that computer problem, I never would have finished my report on time, Tom." "Thanks so much," said Tina. "It was my pleasure," said Tom. "My pleasure" has been used as a thank you response since the mid-1900s. No problem. Saying "no problem" when someone says thank you means "it caused me no problem." This is a way of saying that helping was no trouble or required little effort. A variation of this expression is "no trouble" or "it was no trouble at all." Examples of use. "Thanks for lending me that $10, said Sarah. "No problem," said Don. "Thanks for taking Timmy out sailing with you," said Miss Tanner. "Hey, no problem," said John. No problem as a thank you response has been used since around 1960. No sweat. No sweat as a thank you response is quite similar to the last idiom "no problem," although it is more slangy. It means figuratively, helping you was not hard work for me and it did not cause me to sweat. This idiom is very informal. Examples of use. "Thanks for picking me up for work," said Emily. "No sweat," said Drummond. "It's no sweat. I'll have your car ready by this afternoon," said the mechanic. This one has been used since around 1950. These last two, "no problem" and "no sweat," in some instances can seem to lack warmth unless combined with one of the other standard idiom responses. Forget it. "Thanks so much for helping me." Forget it. This response means much the same as "don't mention it" or "not at all." In fact, "forget it, not at all" is often heard. I personally never say "forget it" as a thank you response. To my ears, it sounds rude. This next idiom is a confusing one for those learning to speak English. It is a simple one-word response, "sure." This is very informal but means much the same as the more formal response, "certainly." It basically means, "of course I don't mind helping you." As well, it is sometimes combined with the other responses such as, "Sure, no problem." "Sure, don't mention it." And "Sure, my pleasure." Despite the allusion, I would advise you to use the word "sure" alone sparingly and only with close friends, as it does tend to sound terse and detached. When a statement is terse, it means that it uses very few words, and this can sometimes seem abrupt and unfriendly. Examples of use. "Thanks for your help earlier," said Chris. "Sure," replied Seth. "Thanks a million for fixing my car again," said Clark. Sure, no problem at all, replied Rick. Being that the word sure is a common English word, it is difficult to ascertain the origin of this idiom. That's all right, it's all right, that and it's okay. All of these are very informal and should be used primarily with close friends and family. They mean something like, helping you was all right with me. I didn't mind. These responses may tend to be used when someone is being apologetic for having troubled you. Examples of use. Can you bring in those papers I left on the table? I need them for work, said Jessica. Sure, said Jackie. Thanks, I'm so forgetful in the morning, Jackie, said Jessica. It's all right, said Jackie. This concludes the Idioms Online presentation of 8 English idiom responses to thank you, and thank you for watching.